Chapter 3 Minecraft Game Night slowly woke. His mind felt foggy, as if reality had merged itself with his fading dream. Opening one eye and then the other, he was greeted by a bright sun and a brilliant blue sky, strange clouds drifting across it. But how could that be? He was in his basement, or thought he was. Maybe his parents had found him and taken him to the hospital. Was he looking through the window of his hospital room, seeing the sky outside? Closing his eyes, he moved his hands to his face and rubbed his head, a lingering echo of a headache bouncing around inside his skull. His hands felt funny on his face, blocky and rough. What was going on? Slowly opening his eyes again, he surveyed his surroundings. The earth around him was green, with fields of grass slowly waving in the breeze. The aroma was rich with life, the fresh soil under him, and the strong smell of flourishing plants, flowers, and grass, growing wild, strange blocky trees in the distance. A cow walked up behind him and mooed. Standing quickly, Game Knight spun and faced the animal. Its blocky head was the height of his chest, and it nuzzled against him, mooing again. Pushing the cow away, he looked around again. There was a forest nearby with blocky trees that he knew all too well. Behind him was a tall waterfall that flowed from a high overhang that looked oddly familiar. A deep hole sat at its base into which the water spilled. Nearby was a tall grassy hill with square blocks of stone exposed here and there. It can't be, he thought. Quickly Game Knight climbed the hill to get a better look around. He could see a forest in the distance to the east, the square foliage spaced far apart at first, the green grass showing through the canopy. But then the forest grew denser until the branches and leafy blocks nearly touched, crowding together as if for protection from some giant predator. It's not possible. To the south he could see a snow biome spreading out to cover the plains behind this waterfall and tall outcropping. The white snow was bright, and in contrast to the lush green of the grassy plains, the snow looked like the white frosting on his recent birthday cake. Is it? He thought, panic starting to gnaw at the edges of his mind. Northward, Game Knight could see another strange, tall mountain, a horizontal outcropping sticking out from the top and hanging out over open air. Long columns of stone hanging down from the roof. They reminded him of monstrous teeth, the mountain looking like the gaping maw of some gigantic prehistoric beast. But the most interesting feature was past this terrifying mountain. It was a village, its sloped roofs just barely visible in the distance. How was this possible? Looking to the west, Game Knight could see a square yellow sun making its way inevitably toward the horizon, its motion almost imperceptible, yet he knew it was moving. Looking up, he could see the clouds slowly flowing across the sky, all of the blocky puffs of moisture moving at the same speed, all in the same direction, east to west. Is it true? He was inside Minecraft. But how was this possible? He remembered playing the team PvP and then going to that new server he'd heard so much about. He'd spawned near a waterfall. Turning, he stared at the strange waterfall cascading from the tall rocky cliff. It can't be. He then shot those noobs and then griefed the village. Turning back, he stared at the village, just where it had been on the server. How is this possible? And then a memory blasted into his mind. The electrical buzzing of machinery and then a blast of bright white light. His father's digitizer. He'd heard it before, that buzzing sound when his father did his experiments, and the dark glasses he always wore to protect his eyes. The digitizer. Somehow he triggered the digitizer and had pulled him into the software that was running on his computer. Minecraft. He was inside Minecraft. Is this a dream? Is it real? He touched his face with his blocky hands. It felt solid. He stomped the ground with his stubby feet. That too felt real. Running down the hill, he stood at the base of the tall cliff, the water splashing nearby, filling with air with mist, painting him with a fine coat of moisture. Wet! I can feel my skin getting wet. This is amazing. It feels real. Just then, Game Knight heard a familiar clicking noise, like castanets mixed with the groaning sounds of wood cracking under strain. Spinning around, he found himself staring at an approaching giant spider, its black furry legs moving in staccato fashion as it walked across the grassy knoll, multiple red eyes staring at him hungrily. Fear shot through him like a jolt of electricity, but it was quickly snuffed out by his curiosity. He'd never seen such detail on the spiders before, all of the individual black hairs on its body moving as if they were under their own volition, its burning eyes looking in all directions at once as its blocky abdomen swayed back and forth with every step. His 1080p monitor was apparently not good enough to render the real thing. At the end of each leg, he could see a tiny multi-edged claw, the cutting edge curved and sharp, looking like some kind of barbarian's weapon from World of Warcraft. Leaning forward, Game Knight tried to get a closer look at those eyes, each one glowing as if lit with fire from within. Slash bang! One of the furry legs shot out and hit Game Knight, the claw scraping across his chest and cutting his shirt, the sharp tip finding skin underneath. Pain radiated through his body. Bang! Click, click, click. The spider struck again, this time at his leg, throwing him backwards. More pain. Game Knight could feel his health level diminish. This was real, not just a game. He had to get out of here. Jumping forward, the spider tried to leap onto its prey, clawed legs slashing in all directions. Game Knight could feel one of them streak past his head, the breeze from the sharp claw painting his face. Panic and fear shot through his body as he rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding being crushed by the large blocky monster. He couldn't stay here. He had to do something, or he was dead. Standing up, Game Knight turned and ran. The spider struck out again, but narrowly missed, the vicious claw just slicing into the back of his shirt, missing his flesh. Experience told him that spiders were fast, but he was faster when he sprinted. And so he sprinted, the gigantic multi-eyed fuzzy black monster on his tail. Terrifying clicking sounds filled the air as the spider followed. He had no weapons, nothing to fight back with, only his experience and his wits. What was he going to do? The spider started to close the distance. He'd stopped sprinting and was only running. Sprinting again, he ran up a nearby hill, timing his jumps with practiced efficiency so as not to miss a step and get stuck on a block, or be faced with a 2-block vertical jump, something that wasn't possible in Minecraft. Reaching the top of the hill, Game Knight could see the spider looking up at him, its multiple red eyes filled with hunger and rage. Why did this thing want to kill him so badly? It was as if Game Knight had something that the spider needed desperately. Jumping up the blocky hill, the spider started to ascend, burning eyes focused on its prey. He couldn't stay here, he had to move. Running down the backside of the hill, Game Knight took a couple of 2-block jumps, knowing he wouldn't take any damage, and then he saw the nearby waterfall and had an idea. Fighting this beast hand to hand was suicide, he knew that for a fact. He needed a weapon, and the waterfall was all he had. Spiders were tough and strong and fast, but they were also stupid. Sprinting down the hill, Game Knight lengthened his lead, the timing of his jumps impeccable. All that parkour training was finally paying off. Running around the opening in the ground into which the waterfall flowed, Game Knight waited a brief instant to make sure the spider was still following him. Then he ran around the column of falling water and just stood there, waiting. Pain and terror filled his mind with a desire to run, but his experience in Minecraft forced his feet to stay still. This was his only chance for survival. "Hey, come and get me, you furry freak!" Game Knight yelled. The spider heard these words and charged straight towards him, the black furry legs moving in a flurry of motion. The clicking sounds of the spider became louder as the monster closed on its prey, its eyes now burning bright as if lit from behind by little angry lasers. It leapt the last few blocks, hoping to land on Game Knight, but to its dismay it fell in the waterfall. The spider was quickly trapped in its turbulence. As it struggled to keep its head above water, Game Knight struck at it with his bare fists, landing blow after blow on the spider, seeing the beast flash red when he struck home. If he hit it enough times he would kill it, but he had to be fast before it found purchase on the rocky ledge and climbed out of the pool of flowing water. Fortunately, the spider lost the battle against the strong current and was pushed down into the huge cavern below. Falling with the flowing water, it fell into the underground chamber, becoming trapped in the pool below, the force of the waterfall keeping its head submerged. As the beast starved for air, its body flashed red again and again and again until all its HP was gone, the creature disappearing noiselessly, leaving behind a small curly piece of web and 3 glowing balls of XP, experience points. Shaking with fear, Game Knight looked down at the floating balls of XP. He wanted those glowing spheres, knowing that XP from fallen combatants could increase a player's strength and let him enchant weapons to higher levels, but it would be too dangerous to go down into that cavern. Not now, he thought, but maybe later when he was prepared. Still shaking, he surveyed his surroundings. Are there any more monsters about? Am I going to be attacked again? Quickly scanning the area, he saw that he was alone, for now. Looking down at his arms for wounds, he saw that he was okay, his HP slowly increasing again. So this was real, for him, anyway. The terror real, and the pain certainly real. He needed to think and not act like a noob. What did he need? Food, weapons, and shelter, the latter first. Studying the terrain with an experienced eye, Game Knight looked for a good place to build a hidey hole, and he found it right away. At the base of the nearby cliff, he could see a narrow opening. Running quickly up the blocks of soil and stone, he found a shadowy fissure that led to a small cave only 3 blocks deep and 2 blocks high. He could close this up easily enough and hide here. This would be his new home. Now he needed wood. Running back down to the basin at the base of the cliff, he sprinted to the nearby trees and started pounding with his bare fists, breaking block after block. He shredded one tree, then moved to the next, getting 4 blocks from each. That was good enough for now. Looking to the west, Game Knight could see the square face of the sun starting to kiss the horizon, the sky changing from a deep blue to a warm red. It was almost sundown, and everyone knew you didn't want to be out after dark. Being out in the open at night meant death. Sprinting back to his hidey hole, he quickly dug up 2 blocks of dirt, ready to use them to seal himself in for the night. But as he waited for darkness to come, he pulled his blocks of wood from his inventory and crafted them into wooden planks. Game Knight wasn't really sure how he was doing this. He was just imagining the screen on his computer and doing what he'd done a million times before. Pulling the planks into his inventory, he then created a crafting bench with 4 pieces, and then it was done. Placing the crafting bench in the corner, Game Knight quickly crafted wooden sticks, then a wooden sword, a shovel, and 2 wooden picks. Okay, now he was ready. The terrain outside his hideout quickly changed from a green, nature-filled slice of beauty to a dangerous, shadowy terrain as the sun finished setting. It was night. The sounds of zombies could be heard in the distance, their moaning wails filling the air with dread. Moving quickly to the opening, Game Knight placed the 2 blocks of dirt, shutting out the monsters and plunging himself into darkness. But now at least he had some weapons and tools, though they were a poor excuse for what he was used to. Lifting the sword, he swung it through the darkness. feeling the keen edge cut through the air and accidentally hit the nearby wall. Having a weapon in his hand felt good, felt natural, but his mind was still filled with fear as the sounds of spiders, zombies, and skeletons trickled into his hidey hole, echoing throughout his mind. He had to remember, this was real, pain was real. Was death real? Turning to the nearby wall, Game Night 999 pulled out his pick and started to dig.